Chapter 2347, Resource Allocation 1. Thus, the Brilliant Moon Empire immediately pledged their full support. Beyond weapons and energy supplies, they would dispatch a unit of over 100 elite warriors. King Arthur asked in confusion, but weren't they supposed to suffer mental corruption once they entered the Dark Sun Forest? Xiu Liuyan nodded. That's precisely why we're sending 100 elite warriors with you. Should any signs of corruption appear, execute them immediately. Though they won't be able to accompany you deep into the Dark Sun Forest, their familiarity with the surrounding terrain surpasses yours. Zhang Yi and the others understood the implication in Xiu Liuyan's words. These 100 elite warriors were meant to be sacrificed, there was no intention for them to return. They would serve as the vanguard, used to scout the path ahead. Both the 3 Silver Moon Guardians and the 3 Dark Moon Priests were accustomed to this. This wasn't cold-heartedness, but a manifestation of profound wisdom. For when the wisdom of civilized beings reaches a certain level, emotions gradually fade, replaced by the prioritization of maximizing efficiency. Zhang Yi even suspected that without their arrival, the two empires might genuinely have pitted their entire national forces against each other in slaughter, even sacrificing 10 of their highest-ranking beings as offerings. On the Dark Moon Empire's side, having seen the Brilliant Moon Empire's stance, they naturally couldn't appear too stingy. Thus, they also dispatched 100 Ink Shadow Warriors, providing them with weapons and energy resources equivalent to those given to the Brilliant Moon Empire. Zhang Yi alone collected a large portion of these supplies. The others watched with envy, but could only wait patiently for Zhang Yi's distribution. After all, the favor the lunar people showed them was essentially directed at Zhang Yi, and Ling Xiu Liuyan specifically addressed Zhang Yi. Our hospitality earlier was lacking. I hope we can converse more with you shortly. Zhang Yi noticed their gazes fixed on Ling and understood the reason. He nodded in agreement, but added that it would have to wait until they resolved their internal matters. Before departing, however, the 3rd priestess reminded Zhang Yi, we expect you to honor your agreement and find the fire seed in the Dark Sun Forest. Starting today, we will seal off the entire moon. You cannot escape until your mission is complete. She feared Zhang Yi might take the reward and flee. Zhang Yi shot her a speechless look. She really knew people well. He did indeed plan to scout the Dark Sun Forest first. If things went south, he intended to make a run for it. After all, self-preservation came first. But for now, that path was effectively blocked. Ridiculous. Chaos, have never compromised my principles. Zhang Yi declared with disdain, then waved his hand dismissively and strode off. Emperor Indra and the others hurriedly followed in his wake. The 6 supreme rulers of the 2 nations exchanged glances. Having never been on good terms, they had little else to say and dispersed. Yet on the return journey, Xian Yu Fei Ming lowered her voice and asked the 3rd priest, did you kill Ming Yu Xiang, Xiu Yan? The 3rd priest turned, her expression one of astonishment. The shadows on her face swirled like a vortex. Are you mad? How could you even think that? Why would I kill Xiu Yan? Xian Yu Fei Ming replied, it's best if you didn't. Because among us, there is someone capable of killing her swiftly. She stopped mid-sentence, but the 4th priest, Yan Yue Jinyu, heard every word clearly. She glanced at the 3rd priest, then at the 6th priest, her eyes filled with suspicion. Now, mutual distrust had begun to take root among them. On the lunar surface, 3 factions now held sway. The Earthlings possessed the capability to act, yet their strength might prove insufficient. Moreover, they wouldn't be foolish enough to challenge the mighty Dark Moon Empire on territory not their own. The Brilliant Moon Empire had the power to do it, but breaking through their impenetrable blockade would be difficult. But among the 3 present, if one truly was the murderer, what possible motive could they have? Amidst the thickening fog of mystery, the 3 Dark Moon priests boarded their respective flagship vessels and departed separately. Zhang Yi and his companions returned to the Dreamer. By then, the Vatican and the Columbia faction had also gathered there. Over 70% of Earth's top-tier and second-tier human powerhouses had assembled at this location. Those stationed locally breathed a sigh of relief upon seeing the Dark Moon Empire's forces withdraw. Spotting Zhang Yi and his companions returning, they immediately approached to inquire about the events. Zhang Yi recounted the situation. Though relieved, the group felt a lingering unease. The Dark Sun Forest, even the mighty Moon people dare not venture there. How perilous could it truly be? Zhang Yi's mind flashed back to Mammon's spiritual realm and those lord of the netherworld that defied death. His voice grew solemn. At this point, we have no choice. Joining forces with the Moon people to find the Fire Seed and reinforce the seal is our only path forward. King Arthur stepped forward and said to Zhang Yi, "Before that, let's first distribute the resources the Moon people gave us." Mentioning the Moon people's resources sparked another wave of envy among the group. The Moon people possessed highly advanced technology, and the Silver Moon Guardians and Dark Moon Priests were terrifyingly powerful. Whatever they had provided must be exceptionally sophisticated. Zhang Yi opened the dimensional gate, pulling out a vast array of lunar weapons and piling them onto the deck of the Dreamer. High-tech weapons, armor, everything imaginable. These far surpassed the current level of civilization in the human world. Yet, for the bishop-level mutants present, they offered little practical use. Benjamin Morgan frowned, fixing Zhang Yi with a piercing stare. "Is that all? Mr. Chaos, this is no time to hold back." Zhang Yi turned to face Morgan, a faint smile playing on his lips. Among the resources the Moon people provided are numerous energy entities. Eyes lit up instantly. For mutants, the sole path to growth lay in absorbing energy entities imbued with fragments of the ether. Only a select few special-type mutants could evolve by consuming specific substances, such as the Earth Centipede, or through devouring the flesh and blood of other mutants, as with beast-type mutants. However, I have no intention of sharing these with you just yet. Zhang Yi stated calmly. The moment the words left his mouth, the atmosphere on the deck grew oppressive. Every pair of eyes fixed on Zhang Yi now held a mix of gravity and discontent. "You intend to hoard them all for yourself?" Morgan smoothed his combat suit, his brow furrowed, a cold glint flashing in his eyes. At a time like this, to be so selfish is utterly outrageous. Among the Knights Templar of the Holy See, Father Orion drew a silver-forged sword spear from his waist and strode over, his face flushed with anger. Greed corrodes the soul, consuming it until it burns to ashes. Chaos. Your actions cannot be tolerated. Chapter 2348, Resource Allocation 2. Facing the glaring eyes of the crowd, Zhang Yi's expression remained remarkably calm. "Rest assured, I won't hoard any of these resources for myself. However, I must weigh one condition: how much effort each of you will contribute in the upcoming operation." His amused gaze swept across the group. "Divide them now? But based on what criteria?" At his words, the group instinctively exchanged glances. Indeed, while everyone desired a share of the resources, the question of who received more or less remained unresolved. Moreover, what if someone took resources but later failed to contribute their fair share? Benjamin Morgan spoke coolly, "But even so, if all resources are placed in your hands, how can we be certain you won't hoard them?" "No guarantee needed. I said it would be distributed fairly, and it will be." "Got a problem with that?" Zhang Yi stared at Morgan, his eyes carrying a hint of coldness. In the human world's domain, he was practically invincible. If he didn't still need this group, he wouldn't even bother haggling with them here. Did these fools really think they had the standing to negotiate terms with him? Absurd. Morgan's gaze sharpened, ready to retort, but the memory of the Wulwan Empire being annihilated by Zhang Yi's forces instantly plunged him into hesitation. Columbia was indeed powerful, but they certainly didn't believe it could surpass the might of the Wulwan Empire. Zhang Yi surveyed the group. "These resources will remain in my custody. After the operation concludes, I will distribute them according to your contributions. Who's in favor? Who opposes?" Zhang Yi's assertiveness rankled many, but the wise knew better than to speak up now. Yet one foolhardy soul stepped forward, Odin, god of war, the Nordic god of war, who had already clashed with Zhang Yi during the Demon's Eye incident. He stepped forward now, declaring, "I object. We all serve Earthstar. Why should you alone decide how the rewards are distributed?" A cold glint flashed in Zhang Yi's eyes. "Object my ass." Odin sensed something was amiss. Even as he spoke, he braced for Zhang Yi to strike. Yet fear did not grip his heart. Just half a year prior, he had clashed with Zhang Yi. Though Zhang Yi possessed formidable strength, his combat style leaned heavily toward defense. Overcoming him swiftly was impossible. Moreover, after the return of Mammon's sealed realm, he had absorbed part of the origin of the Lord of the Netherworld, greatly enhancing his power. His ability index now soared to 38,000 points. He was confident that if Zhang Yi engaged him, he could stall the opponent. Then, with the others joining in, they could subdue Zhang Yi. "By the authority of the Sovereign of the Nine Realms, I command, gather, thunder and storm." Silver lightning swirled around Odin. Standing on the deck of the Dreamer, clad in silver battle armor shrouded in storm and thunder, he looked formidable. Giant bolts of lightning descended from above the moon, making him appear even more sacred. Zhang Yi stood in place, showing no intention of attacking. Facing Odin's formidable stance, he merely raised his right hand. All eyes were fixed on this moment. Whether Zhang Yi could swiftly defeat Odin would determine if they would intervene to vie for control over the Moon People's resources. Not a single ripple of supernatural energy emanated from Zhang Yi. He merely held his index and middle fingers together, tracing a gentle arc as if writing. Dimensional string severance. No energy rippled from his fingertips, yet as his fingers flickered, a sudden crack echoed from the body of the once overbearing Odin. All eyes turned to Odin. He stood with arms raised, the eternal spear already materialized, yet he hadn't launched his attack on Zhang Yi. But the dazzling silver Divine King armor covering his body crumbled like thin, crisp cookies. Snap! Snap! 3 cracks appeared on his armor, all at the chest. The thick breastplate split open in neat fissures. Odin's body stiffened abruptly. He slowly lowered his head. The breastplate shattered, and immediately, crimson blood gushed forth. Pfft! His supernatural shield, his Divine King armor, and his very body were torn apart in that instant. Vitality seemed to be sucked from his being, the excruciating pain turning his face deathly pale. His thunder was extinguished. With his combat suit shattered, his entire body struggled to adapt to the near-vacuum environment of the moon, plunging him into dire peril. Thud! He collapsed to his knees. Fortunately, the combat suit possessed repair functions. A flood of filling foam rapidly emerged, sealing the gaps and preventing excessive internal pressure from causing continuous blood loss. You! Odin lifted his head, staring at Zhang Yi, his eyes filled with utter horror. He knew Zhang Yi must be incredibly powerful now, but he never imagined Zhang Yi would be this powerful. The man who had once been his equal now possessed the strength to kill him in an instant. Ability Index, 45,000 points. Black Bishop Tier. Yet this remained only temporary, for Zhang Yi had not fully assimilated the origin of Xinglu he had devoured. Once that absorption was complete, Zhang Yi's power would approach night level, making him a truly invincible being. Zhang Yi's gaze was cold as he stared at him. With this level of power, you dare to step forward? Are you tired of living? Bitterness filled Odin's heart. Zhang Yi was right, he hadn't truly sought Odin's life. Otherwise, had Zhang Yi's attack penetrated just a little deeper, his body would have been sliced into a dozen pieces. A deathly silence hung over the scene, every pair of eyes reflecting sheer terror. They stared at Zhang Yi, then at Odin kneeling on the ground, their hearts churning like raging tides. The chaos of Huashu Kingdom. Had he truly grown this powerful? Father Orion and Sister Leibniz immediately recalled Ling's body, brought back by Zhang Yi from the sealed realm of Mammon. A realization dawned upon them. Benjamin Morgan, who knew the tale of the Wulwan Empire's downfall, connected the dots. Zhang Yi had reaped immense gains from that colossal Hunt for Nations campaign. King Arthur frowned. I believed my return from Atlantis and ascension to Black Bishop rank made me the foremost power in the human world. Yet now it seems the chaos has risen faster than I. Is there truly no chance I can defeat him again? Morana, the winter goddess from Fremons, wore a blank expression, though her heart trembled with shock. This neighbor to the southern realm has grown more formidable than ever. It would be wise to cultivate friendly relations and avoid conflict. With this thought, she prepared to speak, but someone beat her to it. Emperor Indra pressed his palms together, a smile spreading across his face. I hold both the character and power of chaos in the highest regard. Therefore, I support his allocation of resources. Chapter 2349, Resource Allocation 3. Morana shot a glance at Emperor Indra, inwardly thinking, how dare that guy beat me to it? What a bootlicker. Morgan chimed in, I also believe chaos can handle the distribution fairly and impartially. He turned to Odin with a reproachful tone. Lord Odin, you are too impulsive. At a time like this, we should stand united. How could you turn your guns inward? Sigh, you really need to reflect on this. Odin replied, what? Am I a clown now, what the hell? Odin now felt as if he were wearing a clown mask. Actually, I was just joking. Heh. In any case, everyone happily reached a consensus, agreeing to let Zhang Yi safeguard the resources. Even disregarding Zhang Yi's strength, only someone with a space ability could transport such vast quantities of energy supplies so conveniently. So, when do we depart? Morgan spoke, his eyes clearly fixed on Zhang Yi. In international cooperation, influence hinges on strength, and Zhang Yi's power had clearly won everyone over. After all, once they entered the Dark Sun Forest, if danger arose, Zhang Yi would need to lead the charge. Zhang Yi replied, I promised the Silver Moon Guardians of the Brilliant Moon Empire I'd visit them. Let's discuss it after I return. Everyone nodded in agreement and dispersed to make preparations. Zhang Yi instructed Yang Xinxin and the others to remain aboard the Dreamer. He then activated his space shuffle ability, heading toward the Brilliant Moon Empire's fleet. Due to Ling's presence, he was received with the highest honors upon his arrival. The 3 Silver Moon Guardians escorted him to the flagship. Upon arrival, they eagerly inquired about how Zhang Yi had obtained Ling's human form. Xiu Liunian stated, the race of the Creator is the most powerful and magnificent race that has ever existed in the cosmos. If they choose not to, no trace of them would linger in the physical world. Therefore, your acquisition of Ling's human form signifies her recognition of you. Would you share the details of how this came to be? Zhang Yi paused briefly before recounting the events that unfolded at the Tianyu Palace. After listening, the 3 Silver Moon Guardians gazed at Zhang Yi with even greater intensity. You have endured the baptism of the Creator race's Sea of Spirit? This represents the highest recognition the Yihen tribe could bestow upon you. Indeed. The 3rd Silver Moon Guardian, Guangmianin Xian, paused briefly. Exchanging glances with the other 2 guardians, she then addressed Zhang Yi, you have opened the gateway to the divine realm. Zhang Yi pondered for a moment before asking, what exactly do you mean by gateway to the divine realm? Xiu Liunian explained, it means your spiritual power can reach the same realm as that of Lord Ling. Zhang Yi suddenly understood, was this what humans call the Omega realm? His heart stirred with excitement, though upon reflection, it wasn't quite as thrilling as it seemed. After the baptism of the Sea of Spirit, his ability index had accelerated significantly, with almost no constraints remaining. He had long suspected as much. Yet with his current ability index at 45,000 points, Omega remained a distant goal. The world's looming crisis, however, persisted. After chatting for a while, they gleaned little useful information about the Dark Sun Forest. The Moon people knew almost nothing about the Dark Sun Forest, for they all feared Samuel. Zhang Yi felt a pang of disappointment. But Xiu Liunian told him that if they successfully retrieved the Fire Seed, there might be an opportunity for him to meet the oldest, most primordial beings on the moon. They are the ones who shaped our Moonlight clan. The 12 queens of the Silver Moon throne of the Yihen tribe. When Xiu Liunian mentioned this title, her expression and voice brimmed with profound admiration. The 12 queens of the Silver Moon Throne? So, the radical faction within the Yihan tribe back then? Zhang Yi's mind was filled with curiosity. Because up until now, he had never truly encountered a living member of the Yihan tribe. Strictly speaking, Ling wasn't a member of the Yihan tribe. She was the ultimate weapon forged from the collective spiritual will of the Yihan tribe. Therefore, Ling possessed more of a divine nature and less of a human one. He nodded. All right. I look forward to meeting those ancient beings. Zhang Yi prepared to take his leave, but before he departed, Xiu Liunian summoned someone. For this operation, we will dispatch a general of extraordinary prowess to accompany you. Zhang Yi turned his head in curiosity, watching as a towering figure clad in silver moon armor approached along the translucent lunar corridor. It's him. Zhang Yi's eyes lit up slightly. This was the very being Zhang Yi had clashed with upon first arriving on the moon. That Silver Centaur ability user, a Black Bishop tier powerhouse with an ability index of 42,000 points. The Silver General approached and bowed respectfully. Solitary City greets the 3 Silver Moon Guardians. He turned to Zhang Yi and nodded. Greetings, messenger chosen by the gods. Zhang Yi was somewhat surprised. He whispered to Xiu Liunian, allowing him to accompany me into the Dark Sun Forest. Are you sure? Moonfolk entering the Dark Sun Forest were, by default, destined to be devoured or suffer mental corruption. That was no different from death. Xiu Liunian sighed softly, your strength is still somewhat lacking, after all. Zhang Yi remained silent. Guqing had long prepared himself mentally for this. He said to Zhang Yi, Sir, you need not worry for me. To sacrifice for the mission of the Brilliant Moon Clan is my honor. Warriors of the Brilliant Moon Clan are born with this resolve. Zhang Yi thought to himself, it seems the Yihan tribe above the moon implanted the foundational code to seal Samel deep within the souls of the Brilliant Moon Clan when they created them. With such a powerful ally available, Zhang Yi naturally wouldn't refuse. He nodded. Very well. But when we enter the Dark Sun Forest, I hope he'll follow my orders. Xiu Liunian smiled, of course. Zhang Yi returned to the Dreamer with Guqing. Among the envoys dispatched by the Dark Moon Empire, one figure brought Zhang Yi a pleasant surprise. That Dragonkin ability user bore the name Diaolan. In an instant, Zhang Yi's team gained 2 more Black Bishop-level allies. Zhang Yi notified everyone to rest well today, as they would formally depart for the Dark Sun Forest at sunrise tomorrow. All obeyed the order and returned to prepare without further mention. That night, Gao Changkong stared at the message received by the intelligence system. After deep contemplation, he finally left his room. Gu Man stood at the doorway, her expression grave as she asked, Zhang Yi wants you? Are you sure you want to go? Gao Changkong shook his head helplessly. Do you think I have a choice right now?